Today we're making sourdough garlic knots, and this is a great recipe to have in your back pocket. It's a super soft roll that's basted with a garlic butter, and we braid the dough, which makes it super easy to pull apart once they're baked. This has really become a family favorite of ours. We make it all the time because of how versatile it is and how many dishes it goes with. And they're also great on their own for just an anytime snack. And they're pretty easy to make. Let me show you how to make them. For the garlic knot dough, first thing we need is water. Now we want this water to be warm, but not too hot. We don't want it to kill off our starter. This is 265 grams or milliliters of water, and we'll pour that into our mixing bowl. The next thing we need is 12 grams of salt, followed up by 45 grams of sugar, and we need 1 egg yolk. Now I'm going to take a whisk. If you don't have a whisk, you can use a fork too. I just want to get all these ingredients, these wet ingredients, mixed together nice. And I'm going to use this whisk or fork to do that before I add in the flour. All right, and now I need 460 grams of flour. This could be all-purpose flour or bread flour. And then the star of our show is our stiff sourdough starter. If you don't have a stiff sourdough starter, don't worry, they're super easy to make. I'll put a link to the video on how to make them right up here. You can use your existing sourdough starter to make this stiff starter just for this recipe. It's super simple. So we need 100 grams of stiff sourdough starter. And this is, unlike your regular sourdough starter, this is very sticky and not a liquid. So you just want to kind of stick your fingers in there and grab it, break it up into chunks, and distribute that around your bowl. 1 and 2, of course, which would probably be the reasonable thing to do. You could use some kind of utensil to scoop it out of here, but I like to be messy, I guess. Now, if you have a stand mixer, you can go ahead and start that up. If you're mixing by hand like me, we're going to start mixing this in together until it's a nice consistent dough. We are going to add butter to this dough, but not until this is mixed. It just makes it so much easier, in my opinion. This will be one of the easier doughs that you'll work with out of the recipes I've posted so far. You know, the sourdough buns and the pastry, tart shell, and the monkey bread. Those are a little stickier than this dough. This is a much easier dough to work with. And once it's mixed together like so, we're just going to dump it out. Now I pre-measured this. This is 35 grams of butter. And the key is to have this be at room temperature so that you can easily manipulate it or break it up like this. If it's a cold butter, that's harder to do, which makes it harder to integrate into our dough. So we're just going to set it on top like this and start kneading it. And how I like to knead my dough is by using a bench scraper. If you don't have one, that's okay. You could use a dough cutter or just your hands. If you're using a stand mixer, go ahead and add your butter in and let that mix together. But for those of us doing it by hand, what I like to do is I like to push down with one hand, get the butter nice and mixed in, and then I'll scoop up the side with the bench scraper and fold it over, and then push down and just keep doing that, folding it over and pushing it down. At first, the dough, once the butter doesn't integrate well with the dough at first, and you'll notice it's starting to break up a little bit like that. That's going to go away once we start working with it more. So we'll just keep repeating this process until everything gets nice and mixed in together. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes. I feel like my dough is looking pretty good now. I'm just going to plop it back in the bowl. And so since this is a sourdough, it does take a little bit longer to ferment and rise. There's going to be two steps to this. The first is we want to get the initial rise about double in size, I would say. And then once that happens, we're going to roll it out and we're going to braid it. And then we're going to let it proof again. So I'm going to let this sit for probably about 4 to 6 hours and come back and we'll roll it out and braid it together. It's been about 6 hours at this point and the dough has doubled in size. So I'm going to roll this out and start braiding the garlic knots. To do this, I want to flour the work surface I have. I'm just going to plop this dough right on the middle there. Get any extra that stuck to the bowl. Set the bowl aside. Now, I'm going for a rectangular shape. I'm going to flour the rolling pin and just kind of smooth it out. I like to start by just rolling it out in any direction. And then once it's all rolled out, I can kind of form it into the shape I want. All right. So now I'm just going to form this. Part of it's a little stuck to the cutting board here, so I'm just going to take my bench scraper and loosen it up and form a little rectangle. This batch will make around 12 garlic knots. You can go bigger or smaller depending upon what you want. You're also going to want to make sure you have a baking sheet with some parchment paper on it. And as we braid these, that's going to be handy to just plop them over onto the cutting board. So with my bench scraper, I'm going to start by going right down the middle. Form 2 different sections. And then I'm going to make 6 knots out of each side here. And so I want to kind of think about how I want those. So here's 1, 2. You can see I'm just using my bench scraper to cut the dough. If you don't have a bench scraper, that's okay. You can use a knife. Works just as well. Or a dough cutter. And you can see those are pretty uniform for the most part. And then I can just use this as a guideline to cut the one above. All right, now we want to braid these. And to do that, I start by making 2 cuts inside each garlic knot. And I'm just going to do the bottom layer first. So to give you a quick tutorial on how to braid these, we cut them in so they have 3 legs essentially. And what you'll want to do is take the far right leg and bring it over the middle, and then take the far left leg and bring it to the middle. And then from there, you just rotate the outer edges to the middle over and over and over again. And it forms a nice braid. Once you get to the end here, you want to pinch it off and then roll it up over itself like that. And that's when you want to set it on your baking sheet. Depending upon your baking sheet, you can do 3 per row. This will make about 12, so there'll be 4 rows. And again, you just take the far right side, bring it over, take the left side, bring it to the middle, and then take the right to the middle, left to the middle, right to the middle, left to the middle, right, left, right, left. Pinch it off, and then roll it up. And you'll get something like this. That's what you want to put on the baking sheet. I've gotten good at braiding. I'm a girl dad, so I have a lot of practice with braiding here. So right to the left, left to the middle, 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 middle. It's really just that first 2 moves that you make that are different, and then the as you go down the line, it's just the same. So far right over, far left to the middle, far right to the middle, left to the middle, right to the middle, left to the middle, right to the middle, left to the middle. Just go down as far as you can. Now, if you have a different way that you like to braid these, some people like to twist them into knots. That's, whatever works. Actually, this dough is pretty versatile for things like breadsticks and whatever shape you want. I've done, you go to my community tab on my channel, you can see where I've done just one huge braid with these garlic knots, and then just cut the braid up for dinner. That works good. Otherwise, you could form it into breadsticks. That works. So here they all are. They're braided and knotted up. And this is one of the last steps we need. We want to let these proof. We want to let these rise up a little bit. Typically, that will take 1 to 2 hours. So I'm going to leave these covered with a light kitchen cloth. You could put these inside your oven with the oven off, or if you have a proofing setting on your oven, you could use that too. Speed it up a little bit. And then we're going to baste them with a garlic butter before we bake them. So let's let these rise up a little bit and we'll be back. So it's been about an hour and a half and these have had a chance to rise up a little bit or proof. We're going to baste these with a garlic butter now. So I'm going to plop about 75 grams of unsalted butter, or 3/4 of a stick, into a saucepan. And then I went ahead and cut up about 4 cloves of garlic. I just melted down the butter enough with the garlic included so that it infuses the butter with a nice garlicky taste. We're going to baste these knots with this infused butter, but save some of it for after they bake. So let's just lightly baste these now. And once they're all basted, we're going to bake these at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius for about 12 to 15 minutes, or until they are golden brown on top. So here they are, fresh out of the oven. And there's one final step before you can enjoy these, and that is an optional step, but one I feel is important for at least getting another coat of butter on these. And then I like to garnish them, which is the optional step. I'm going to put a little coarse kosher salt over the top, freshly ground or grated Parmesan cheese, just right over the top of each one. And since these are fresh out of the oven, it's going to get a little bit melty, which will help it stick to the garlic knot. And then last but not least, some chopped up parsley. And this just gives it a really nice aesthetic. All right, we're done. We made it to the end. That wasn't so bad, was it? I mean, okay, there were quite a few steps there, but this is a great recipe to have in your back pocket. And as you make these more often, it will get easier and easier, especially the braiding part. These are a super versatile roll. We find ourselves having these at least once per week. They go with so many different meals. My favorite thing to do with them is make them as like an appetizer and dip them in marinara sauce. I find that to be next level. But I would love to know how this process went for you. So once you try this out, leave a comment below if you wouldn't mind, and let me know how it went, what you think. I'd love to hear from you. All right. Well, happy baking, everyone. Thanks for watching.